Good evening. My name is Blake Abbott. I teach in communication studies, and this will help my little intro. I am a rhetorician, which means I am trained to and interested in studying language, how language affects people, cultures, and societies. And tonight I want to talk specifically about language in education. Specifically, one term, investment, that we think about in relation to education. We tend to see education in terms of return on investment, or ROI. And you can see questions like, what can I do with my degree? Is college even worth it? And I want to make a bold statement. We rely way too much on the idea of investment when we talk about education. And I want to talk about a couple of instances where I see that happening. The first is in selection for college. So as prospective students and their families are trying to decide whether to go to college, where to go to college, what to major in. They decide a number of things, right? How much the college costs, what they're going to get out of it, what they might major in. And in doing so, what I've started to see in online and various information about colleges is this notion that education is an investment, that where you go to college, whether you go to college, and what you even major in affects what kind of job you get, what kind of career you get, and that career, that job, is your return on investment. In fact, we're starting to see different degrees providing different return on investment for earnings, and different colleges provide different returns on investment. In fact, a company named PayScale has created a ranking, much like the US News and World Report ranking, but ranking colleges by return on investment. I have the top 5 and the bottom 5 listed here. So basically, I see investment as structuring the very decision to go to college, where to go to college, and how students relate to college. Second example I want to talk about is in disciplines within college. Specifically, I want to talk about the humanities and the liberal arts. And I want to do that partially because I consider myself a humanities scholar, but also because this notion that college and university is an investment has led to an interesting focus on disciplines and studies that are deemed more marketable, and those tend to be STEM. As you can see, they get a lot more funding. Humanities gets a lot less funding, and this has led to sort of a reaction from people in the humanities to say, wait, we matter too. We have something valuable to provide. In fact, we have the skills that that employers say that they want, right? Critical thinking skills, problem-solving skills, oral and written communication skills, ethics, and that humanities has something to provide. We are actually a good investment too. Fund us, please, right? And so, and I'm not saying that STEM is in any way bad, of course, but that in fact humanities people are saying we can complement the STEM majors. We can actually be sort of the yin to STEM's yang. As you can see, science can teach you how to clone a T-Rex, but humanities can teach you why this might not be a good idea. Right? So humanities has had to justify its own existence, and increasingly they're doing so in the language of investment. So why does this matter? Now, obviously, I believe all approaches to education have a lot of value, but I want to ask that we at least consider, possibly rethink the idea that education should provide return on investment. And I have 3 reasons for this. The first is that it limits our idea of what education should be. When we think of education primarily as investment and students' product as a return on an investment, it sort of reduces education to job training. And I think we all realize that education is ever so much more than training for a career. Second, it reduces our idea of what students can be. We sort of see students as employees in waiting, or we even see students themselves as the investment, as a benefit for school or as a benefit for family, when, of course, they are and can and should be more than that. Third, it limits our idea of what educators, teachers can do, because we tend to filter what a class should be about, what a major should be about, in terms of the marketable skills that can be imparted upon a student. And if those marketable skills are the primary focus, then we sort of limit what education is to certain quantifiable points on graphs and charts, and I think that sort of is a little too reductionist in our view of education. So overall, I guess I just want to leave you with this one thing. Let's focus on how we talk about education, because speaking as someone who studies this sort of stuff, language that we use matters. Thank you.